promote his work. But Ron Paul has a Achilles heel on immigration. He simply has not made the case that we've got to slam our borders shut. So this leaves us, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Mr. and Mrs. Average White American don't have any political party speaking for their desire to close our borders. And that's what American third position is. And I hope people out there in the audience will, inquire about the American third position to see if this is what they'd like to participate in.
Now, Jamie, I worked in a presidential election 96 with Charles Collins. And so I'm aware of the taxes. This was in the Republican. He was the first Republican to sign up. But every time he got up to tell people in the Republican Party that we could buy back the Federal Reserve for about $500 million or $1 billion, wipe out a $10 trillion debt, $16 trillion now. And they unplugged his microphones. Every cameraman on stage turned their cameras off every time he got on stage and took a smoke break.
Uh-huh.
So he couldn't get any time. We couldn't get any publicity. No, I went up to one news crew and I said, well, here's Charles Collins. He's running for president. He's sitting right here, right next to you. Why don't you do an interview? We can't. We can't.
Right. Well, now that's an area, you talk about the banksters. Ron Paul has been outstanding on the question of the banksters.
Yes.
And for that alone, he is a great American for all time. But I'll tell you another great American that I met with in Washington, D.C. at the CPAC, Conservative Political Action Conference, at the last one, was Tom Tancredo. And he is one of those few who have been in Washington. He was a congressman from Colorado.
Yes.
Tancredo has been solid on shutting our borders. And he mentioned in the talk that he gave at CPAC, he mentioned that, he's buddies with Ron Paul. Ron Paul was a member of his immigration caucus in Congress. And he said that Tom Tancredo, he said, I had to just chew Ron Paul out and talk to him personally over his current, he just wrote a book. And in it, he is, he just, once again, is mushy on closing our borders. But we've had a few good ones like Tom Tancredo.
All right, let me take you in another direction politically here. How about Israel? I mean, we're giving Israel $50 billion. I certainly don't. I'm not going to buy into the fact or the idea that we need to kick all the Jews out. I don't care what race you are or what religion you are. I think all religions, personally, I think all religions are about control. And we got God inside us. We call it the soul. So we don't really need these organizations. But we do need a political organization. We need somebody to bring us together to get people focused on this. Divide and conquer is their whole term. So, I'm a conservative. Well, I'm a liberal. I'm a Republican. I'm a Democrat. How about us being American? How about being free Americans?
Yes. Well, every ethnic group in the world, including Israelis and Jews who live outside of Israel, blacks, Hispanics, Mexicans, Chinese, Vietnamese, Cambodians, they all have ethnic interest groups. And bats an eye, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. So they raise lots of money. It's a big organization. The American Jewish Cause, they raise about 100 times more money, and they're extremely powerful. Nobody bats an eye. But your average listener to this radio show, who is a white middle-class American, doesn't have any lobby, doesn't have any national association for his advancement and protection of his interests, and that's what's needed. The Republican and Democrat parties refuse to do this. Now, the Republican Party has become, de facto, a white political party. Overwhelmingly, the membership of the Republican Party is white. So this effort to take back America should be occurring inside the Republican Party. It's not, unfortunately, and this makes it all the more necessary that we have a third party effort.
Okay, let me clarify again. How would the party stand on the banks? Why can't we issue our own money as our government, as the Constitution, the way the Constitution says we're supposed to? Why do we have to have the private bank? Would that be one of the end the Fed? Would that be one of the rallying points of the American Third Position Party?
The American Third Position supports Ron Paul and his end the Fed initiative completely. This is a very courageous, valiant fight that Ron Paul has waged ever since he first entered Congress in 1976. And I am, you know, this has the banksters shaking in their boots. Ron Paul has come very close to getting, getting this done, and he has a legitimate chance. Ron Paul does have a shot at the presidency, at the Republican nomination in 2012.
Now, on this illegal situation, this is what I believe this should be a platform, and it's what the Libertarian Party started out to be before it got infiltrated and taken over. If in the 30s, William Randolph Hearst got that mansion up there on the hilltops there on the coast of California,
San Simeon,
for basically destroying all of the Rockefeller and DuPont's competition with hemp. They stole what popular mechanics referred to as a $1 billion crop in the 30s. They made it illegal, and I think we ought to be. Don't think the Constitution gives the government any power to say what we can grow and what we can't grow. So why not let the farmers grow hemp? And if we abolish laws against victimless crimes, then we got really free trade. You know, if we can grow hemp, we can restore our whole economy. That's my opinion. How about?
Well, again, speaking of Ron Paul, you're right there with Ron Paul, and those personal liberty questions, and the ability to have freedom and a constitution that guarantees those freedoms. That is a fine position. It's a position that's covered in the political spectrum by what Ron Paul is doing. But we in the American Third Position, we are focusing our energy on this. It is the 800-pound gorilla, which is that our nation, which in my memory and yours was a 91% white nation, and there's no reason that it ever needed to change, that number never needed to change. We're focusing on saving our nation, saving the America that white people and that we remember. And it was ours, it is ours, and very importantly, it is our duty to leave to our children the nation that we were given. And the nation I was given as a little boy was 91% white. And I'm going to be ashamed if on my deathbed I'm living in a nation that's 40% white. And the way it's going right now, that's what's going to happen.
Well, now they tried to use me, Jamie, and the NAACP. They even listed Larry Pratt right under me. Larry Pratt, Clay Douglas, bigots. I mean, after I'd had 3 black people on my shows. But they're just with the language that you just used, what you just said, somebody's going to say, well, what about the blacks? Well, what about the blacks? Well, what about the blacks?
Well, the immigration invasion, the third world invasion of America, it's been bad for white America. Let me tell you, it's been bad for black America, very much so. And anybody who's studied it, the question at all, the gangbangers that are killing and beating up blacks in high schools, You know, this is happening. It's happening in prisons. Blacks are being pushed out of their neighborhoods that they had occupied for a long time. So, you know, black America, that 91% America that I'm remembering, that other 9% was mostly black Americans. And that was a stable population. We could have gone forward into the future for 1,000 years with that population demographics, stably. There's never any. Look, let's put it this way: no third world nation is being invaded. Mexico's not being invaded. China's not being invaded. India's not being invaded. This invasion of alien peoples into nations is happening only to white nations, and it's happening at a pace that is mind-boggling. It literally, we're looking at the end. And this sounds like somebody might think I'm exaggerating, but study it, you'll find out it's true. We're looking at the end of every white nation on earth. This is happening in Germany, in France, in England, in Spain, in Italy. You think Canada is exempt? The third world invasion of Canada, believe it or not, is actually going on at a faster pace than it is in America. It's insanity. And on the part of it.
And if you say anything about it, I mean, oh, you're anti-Semitic, oh, you're a racist. You know, wait a minute now. Israel, you know, they keep, they won't allow anybody to marry in. They won't allow anybody.
You know what we need to do, Clay? I'll tell you what we need to do, Clay. We need to come up with some choice terms ourselves. And these people that call you and I racist or anti-Semite or bigot, we need to start calling them traitor with a capital T.
I think
we need to call them traitor nonstop. And we need to treat them like traitors. And those people, up here in North Dakota, we have some social services agencies. You're not going to believe this. In this all-white state of North Dakota, we have an outfit called Lutheran Social Services. They are flying plane load after plane load of Somalis into North Dakota. You think you're dreaming? You think it's a nightmare? People from Somalia wearing, looks like they come here wearing carpets or sacks. They don't speak English. They don't have anything in common with us. And yet Lutheran Social Services is proud that they are bringing thousands of them into North Dakota, and they are given cars, apartments, homes, jobs, money, citizenship, free medical care, food stamps. White America has to realize that this is insane, and that it's going to mean the end of their nation, and that for their children, what they're leaving their children, this. And I have to be harsh with this generation. Somebody, I forget who it was, called it the greatest generation. One of the members of the board of directors of American Third Position, I think, is more aptly said, it's the worst generation. This generation, no generation has ever failed America as badly as the current, my generation.
We've been subjected to the greatest mind control tool ever invented in history. It's called television.
It's true.
They don't call it programming for nothing. Now, why I started the Free American was because somehow the mainstream press was trying to convince us that those troops had to go in there and kill all those children in Waco to save them from a child molester. That was not the media. To me, so I started the Free American because we couldn't believe the media. That's still true now. They're not telling you about this illegal invasion because they want you to be friendly to your neighbor before he slits your throat, before he robs you. I mean, all we got to do to see the race riots and the millions of people killed is stop the trucks for a week.
Well, there are an awful lot of things in terms of a remedy, and I'll tell you this, Clay, I like to focus on how we can fix this, and I like to take responsibility for ourselves. We people like you, people like me, middle-class white folks in America, we can change our minds, and we can change our attitudes. We are in control of that, and we don't need to wait for anybody else to, we don't need to wait for the TV moguls to change or for the ownership of the TV networks to change. We don't need to wait for anybody. This generation, we white folks today, we can start acting more like our Davy Crockett ancestors of yesterday. And, when Davy Crockett left his family, got on a horse, and set off into the forest for a place he'd never been, there are no maps, there's no roads, he headed for Texas because kinsmen were fighting for their land and their nation. And, as a U.S. congressman, Davy Crockett left the U.S. Congress. We have to get some of that back.
Well,
we've turned into a lazy, gluttonous, scaredy cat generation, afraid of our own shadows. Somebody calls us, sticks and stones may break my bones. Somebody calls you a racist, and people run for cover.
This is one of the questions I've been and I've been investigating this for 25 years, writing about it. But I'm kind of used to being demonized because I was riding a motorcycle and wearing leather when it wasn't cool. There wasn't many doctors and lawyers doing that. The people do need to stand up here, and that's what. If you've got the information and you understand the true situation, that we are in a war, and this we support 150 countries. There's only 190 in the world. We support 150 of those with foreign aid. So they're literally using the money that you generate from your taxes and from your interest and all that to fund the world, to fund any country that goes along with a one world government of the banksters, by the banksters, for the banksters.
By the way, whose money is that? The only people who are on net paying taxes in America are white people. On net, all of these third world invaders, they're at the trough. Yeah, they pay a little taxes. Yeah, they pay sales taxes. But they're getting hand over fist. They are getting government program money.
And by the way, now, let me just stop for a second here, because there are millions of black people in this country that are working, they're paying their taxes, that are buying their homes, that are driving their cars. Your party doesn't have any problem with them, do you?
Oh, our party is not a racist party. We don't have any problem with any other race. And we're not about hate. What we are about is we're the only party, even the very good Constitution Party, won't say this straight up, even though most of the people in the Constitution Party believe it. In fact, I've never met anybody in the Constitution Party who didn't believe it, including Chuck Baldwin. We're the only party that says in our platform, we advocate for the interests of white Americans. It's this very simple statement. Everyone else is allowed to say it.
I personally believe that my ancestors walked across the Caucasus. I think my ancestors were the first Israelis, the first Israelites. We walked across the Caucasus Mountains and became called Caucasians. I don't have any problem believing that, and I don't have any problem believing that there was probably maybe one of Gordon Duff's Jewish ancestors was walking along with one of my ancestors. But
well,
we got here, and the white people built the civilization. We built the self-sufficient family farms, which are the basis of every civilization. And that's how this country was 100 years ago. I think it should go back to that. I think we should go back to being more self-sufficient, energy self-sufficient. Obama's idea of greening America is selling the top of that mountain to a foreign company so they can put up wind generators and pump it back down, and then sell the electricity they created from the wind that blows across our land to the power companies who sell it back to you. Why can't we put? Why can't our? Would your party go along with putting a garden in the backyard and a wind generator and a solar unit on every home, so every homeowner and everybody and every ranch and farm around the country became more self-sufficient?
Oh, absolutely. And the the only thing we're demanding is that we get what every other people in the world. It goes back to this racist barb. No one questions the right of the Chinese to China. No one questions the right of the Mexicans to Mexico, or of the Cubans to Cuba, or of the Nigerians to Nigeria. Why don't we have a right? Why don't we, white Americans, have the right to our land in perpetuity? In France, and Spain, and England,
and what happened to the Russians? What happened to the Russians is happening to us. They killed 60 million white Christian Russians with the Soviet Union, and what they're trying to put in right here, right now, is the North American Union. The North American Community is what they started calling it. Now it's pretty much in effect right now. With Obama's executive orders, he sealed what George Bush already said. Now, is that a wrong statement in any way?
No, not at all. And by the way, let me disrupt your audience a little bit, because I can sense right now I've been a gloom and doomer here a little bit for the first part of the show. The last minutes here, I'd like to give people a very hopeful message. And that's this. Here's what we've discovered with the American third position. It's possible to fight back in politics. We're running a man named Barry Bertram, governor of West Virginia right now. And what we have found with the American third position is that we can, for almost nothing, we can get 30-second radio spots because of the political laws in America. We can get 30-second radio spots very, very inexpensively. I'm talking as little as $5 each on real radio stations. Because federal election law requires that our message be carried unedited, and it doesn't offer the radio stations an ability to turn them down. And secondly, they have to offer us that radio time at their cheapest rates, which are phenomenally cheap, always. Now, what we have found is that white Americans can fight politically to retake their country. That's the message of hope here. And we have been remiss for a number of years in not launching a political pushback.
I think so too, and I think this is a good way to approach it. We're not trying to oppress anybody else. We just want what our founding fathers gave us. And what did Benjamin Franklin say to you? Oh, when asked, what form of government have you given us, Mr. Franklin? A constitutional republic, ma'am, if you can keep it.
Yeah, and here's what I want the audience to support. I look forward to the time when in local radio stations all across America, you will, for the first time in your life, hear a radio spot that says, "Hi, I'm Jamie Kelso, or I'm Joe Smith, and I'm a member of the American Third Position Political Party. We are here to defend your interests as white Americans." And those ads will appear all over America. It will be a shock to people who don't, have even given up thinking that such things are possible because of this regime of political correctness and fraidy cat correctness that has set in across our country.
Well, I have there is some tremendous opportunities here. 40 years ago, I wrote a novel about the United States when hemp's legal here. You can nobody gets busted for what they got in their pocket. Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And You know, I've got other books about the past 2,000 years, and our whole Bible is full of talk about tyranny and defending your race. If we're the Israelites, if we're descended from the Israelites, we're being remiss and we're not doing what the Bible told us to.
Well, yeah, every people has a duty to defend itself. And, you know, if white people were invading Nigeria, I would expect black Nigerians to push us out. If a bunch of Arizonans decided they wanted to invade, white Arizonans decided they wanted to invade Mexico, I would expect the Mexicans to shoot back and push them out. Every nation has not only the right, it has the duty to defend its own.
That's exactly what I'm trying to promote with this new Cochise County event. If we can do this in one county here, and my idea is to put the veterans together. Here's two generals. McCaffrey is saying we're in a war here, so let's put the unemployed, homeless veterans to work a garden and working and learning how to provide food and raise animals and protect the farmers and ranchers. Because anytime you got an invasion here, they go after the farmers first. They did it in South Africa. They did it.
Let's bring our Army, Navy, and Air Force home from these stupid adventures in Iraq and Afghanistan, and let's put them on the Rio Grande.
Absolutely, absolutely. We need to quit. Ron Paul is right when he says we're making them do that. If we're being the aggressive, like the Israelis want us to, then we are being looked on poorly. If we bring all of our troops back, all of our forces back, we quit trying to defend 180 other countries. We defend our own. America will return to a position of stability again.
Well, there's a Merle Haggard song out there called America First. And in that song he said, let's rebuild America first. And Merle Haggard's got it right.
I agree. I am, you know, let me just do a quick sample for you. Hi folks, I'm Clay Douglas. I am credited with helping start the militias around the country after what happened at Waco. But I did that to defend. They didn't tell you I did it in the governor's office. Now I want to do it from the president's office by supporting the right people, the right senators, the right congressmen to do the job of protecting the America our founding fathers, who happen to be white, gave us. I am willing to work with your party in any way that's possible. I'd like to have you back on my show on a weekly basis because we need the political party. We need the opposition here, and we need the press. They don't want you to listen to me. They don't want you to hear me. They want to block me in libraries. So I need help getting around that, and you need the experiences that I've got and the events that we're trying to put together. If the American Third Position Party sponsors this event for the sheriffs in Cochise and Pinal and Maricopa County, we could do this from county to county, from California to Texas, and start building our defenses against this invasion that's going on.
Well, thank you for those kind words, Clay, and thank you for having me on your show. And we were privileged up here in North Dakota to listen to Sheriff Richard Mack from Graham County, Arizona. You are producing some great sheriffs there in Arizona.
Yes, sir. He'll be speaking there. Sheriff Deaver will be speaking there. Sheriff Paul Bobo will be speaking at this event. We need a speaker from the party, unless you swear me in real quick.
Okay. All right. I just deputized